WWE Hell in the Cell 2022 is in the books, and you talk about a show that exceeded expectations. My God, all the respect and love and best wishes in the world out to the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, who just went through a hellacious Hell in the Cell match with Seth Rollins, working with one arm with a torn pectoral muscle and gutting it out, and not only performing in the match but doing well. And he must have just been in unmeasurable amount of pain, and for him to gut it out and perform in a match like that and go over was surprising, but also extremely, I don't know, I don't want to say entertaining to watch, but it was an extremely proud moment, for wrestling fans to see somebody go out there with an injury like that and perform on that level. Cody Rhodes might have made his legacy tonight all in one match, and there's a good chance that we're not going to see Cody Rhodes for a year. For those of you unaware, and maybe just tuning into this review to see what happened at Hell in the Cell prior to the show tonight, it was revealed that Cody Rhodes may have suffered an injury to his pectoral muscle. I guess he was pulled from the house show last night, and there were some rumblings today that he was injured while working out. WWE then went on to confirm this and still went on with the match. They still advertised it all day while acknowledging Cody's injury. During the kickoff, all of the announcers made mention of it, saying he tore his pectoral muscle completely off the bone. They loved to say completely off the bone. They repeated it over and over and over, and that is a serious injury. That's an injury with a very long recovery time, especially getting back in the ring, working out, getting in shape, that type of stuff, and that's devastating. So, here we think it's, going to be curtains for Cody for a while. He's still going to work the match, and we were pretty surprised that was still going to go down. So he was advertised tonight despite obviously needing surgery, obviously going to be on the shelf for quite a while, but was still going to wrestle his advertised match against Seth Rollins tonight. Not only did he wrestle his balls off, and my God, this is going to be a memorable pay-per-view, I think. I mean, this was such an uneventful show, leading up to it. The build has been poor. All of the buzz and all the headlines have been pretty much AEW dominated with Double or Nothing, CM Punk winning the title and his injury, and MJF and all that stuff. And you're going into Hell in the Cell, and a lot of people today, even on social media, I was seeing people say, I don't think I'm going to watch the show. I've never cared less about a pay-per-view, and I felt the same way as well. There was really, other than the Cody and Seth match, which I was interested in, there wasn't a whole lot on this show that was, really getting me excited. But as we know with WWE, despite WWE's creative issues and how bad they suck behind the scenes, in front of the camera, the talent is awesome. Talent always comes through. Talent is always reliable. And I've completely lost count of how many times the talent has come through and bailed WWE out of shitty pay-per-view situations, whether it's, severe change of plans like we saw here with Cody, or the mumps a couple of years ago, or whatever, any other injuries, or just a pay-per-view that's just kind of lacking any enthusiasm. Talent always comes through and makes these shows worth it and gives us really good quality wrestling. Tonight was no different. Excellent opening match with the three women. Every match on the card was pretty damn solid, and the crowd deserves a lot of credit too in Allstate Arena. They were jacked for this entire show, and the crowd and the talent together made this poorly built pay-per-view really something fun to watch. And then Cody, injecting his real-life injury and situation into this storyline and match with Seth Rollins, and, performing at the level he did in Hell in the Cell. My God, I am just blown away by how good this pay-per-view turned out to be, and, how bittersweet it turned out to be, too, because this is going to be a performance by Cody Rhodes that I will never forget, but it's also going to be the last performance I see out of Cody Rhodes for many, many, many months. That goes for all of us. So, anywho, that's my kind of there's my quick thoughts on the show. I know many of you were in the chat waiting for me before I went live here. I know there's a lot of super chats I need to answer right off the bat. I want to make sure I can be heard. All right, I can see me, I can hear me, y'all can too. Good to see everybody here. I want you to leave me your number or letter grades in the chat there on what you thought of the show. Grade it, A, B, C, or D, 0 through 10, whatever kind of grade you give it. But I think the performance of the wrestlers tonight are really going to bring this pay-per-view up in terms of the grades that the audience gives it. Really solid effort. It really was by everybody in WWE tonight. Talent, that is. And the crowd, too. Chicago was rocking for this show. And I'm surprised they went head-to-head with the NBA Finals tonight. I believe Golden State evened that up, correct? So, they had some competition, but still, the show was surprisingly good, and that makes me really happy as a wrestling fan, because not much of what WWE's doing these days is all that exciting, if you know what I mean. And tonight was just a blast, I got to say. No beer for me tonight. Cheersing you with my delicious Arrowhead water. I am still recovering from COVID. Got COVID for the first time because I went to Vegas, of course, for Double or Nothing, and you kind of ask for that. So when I got home, I felt like shit. Took a test on Thursday, was positive, and I've been sitting on my ass for the past few days, but I'm feeling a lot better. Still not 100%, but much better. And I think by tomorrow, if I take a test, I'll probably be negative. So I'm glad that's over with. So I was just kind of chilling out here, watching the pay-per-view tonight. And like I said, pleasantly surprised because sometimes, a lot of times, especially with TVs, with WWE, not so often with pay-per-views. The pay-per-views usually hold up, but sometimes watching WWE can be a chore. And tonight, going into the pay-per-view, before I knew about Cody's injury, I felt like tonight was going to be a chore. And I'm happy to say it was actually fun to watch the show. And the crowd seemed to give a shit. Anywho, I would appreciate the thumbs up, the subscriptions, all that stuff. Let me scroll back to the beginning. Probably not going to be able to shout out everyone, but I do want to hit these super chats before we start getting rolling into the results here. I want to start with K-Dogs. Kennel, good to see you, my friend. We're going to be doing a Judgment Day 2000 live stream review this month before Forbidden Door. I just got to nail down a date for that. We'll be doing that soon, courtesy of Kevin. Thanks for that $5, my friend. Best Hell in a Cell match in recent memory. I might agree. Cody Rhodes to compete with that type of injury. Hats off to both men. True that. That injury was so fucking gnarly when he took, and I should have known because we've seen pectoral injuries before. Triple H, right? Famously had one in Saudi Arabia, and you could see how purple it got and shit. So I don't know what I was thinking prior to that there might be a bruise, but you could see when he was making his entrance, even still with his robe on, I'm like, oh shit, you can see the bruise. But then when he took his jacket off to reveal that fucking purple, just, oh my God, it was... I'm sorry for making it my thumbnail for the weak stomached, but my God, that was something to see. And you wonder how the hell he's even going to do it, how he's even going to compete with that type of injury, one-handed, cortisone shot. I'm sure they can numb him up. They can do some stuff, I'm sure, to manage the pain, but that's only going to go so far. And, and I hope he didn't do any further injury to himself. I'm not a doctor. I've had some shoulder problems before, and my doctor had one time told me when I was talking about like working out or doing push-ups or something, and I'm like, now, will that hurt it? And he said something to the effect like, well, it's already torn. You can't tear it anymore, type of thing. You basically can't hurt it any more than it's already hurt. So maybe that's kind of the case with a torn pec. It's already fucked to hell. There's nothing else you can do to it that's going to make it worse. Basically, I think maybe that's why he was able to get in the ring, because WWE does have doctors, and if they feel you're not healthy enough to compete, they're not going to let you. They're not going to clear you. But Cody was able to do it, and not only do it, he did it well. So hats off to the man. Joshua Aparicio, appreciate the 5 from you. What up, Greg? Cody kind of looked like Venom was about to control his whole body. If he didn't finish this match, he is a damn SOB. Great match. He's a tough SOB. And it's interesting, too. Where did this event take place tonight? Allstate Arena. Particular match took place there. It was kayfabe, but it was much in the same, kind of vibe, and that is Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, although Stone Cold lost that match, and the injury he had was a kayfabe injury, but he refused to pass out, fought his ass off, crowds going nuts, and earned the respect of everybody. And that match was one of the big reasons why Austin became the megastar that he did. And not saying that this is going to have the same effect on Cody's career that match had on Austin's, but it's kind of interesting that this performance, went down in this arena, in this building, in CM Punk's hometown, who's also dealing with an injury. And CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, I mean, wrestling loves just to bash us with a steel toe work boot right in the balls, don't they? They took away the summer of Punk and the biggest push of Cody Rhodes' career within 48 hours. Thank you, pro wrestling. We fans appreciate that. But seriously, Cody and CM Punk, it's a shame to lose them. Wrestling is very lucky to have them both, and I wish them the best in their respective recoveries. And it looks like we're going to be getting Punk back far quicker than we're going to get Cody Rhodes back, and that's a shame. Who's next here? Stone Cold. What's up, dude? Appreciate the 5 from you. That was one of the most unreal things I've ever seen in my years watching wrestling. I just became a bigger Cody Rhodes fan. So far, the reviews have just been, and the response, I should say, has been fantastic for Cody and what I've seen on social media. Everybody is giving his performance and the show, it looks like, pretty good marks, and I'm happy to see that. WWE needed this. They can thank Cody and his injury, for really injecting some, emotional investment into something, anything that they're doing, because we were all feeling Cody's pain. We were on that trip with him tonight, and we were all just hoping for the best, that he was able to survive this. I didn't give a shit one way or the other if he won or lost. I was assuming he would lose, even if he was previously booked to win. If he's leaving for a year, you got to put Seth over here and then have Cody come back and deal with it or whatever. But they didn't. They probably went as planned with the entire finish. And how about Seth Rollins' gear, huh? Imagine if Cody wasn't able to compete and the doctors didn't clear him. I imagine in some future episode of Broken Skull Sessions with Seth Rollins, he'd be like, Steve, that night I was supposed to face Cody. I had these polka dots made up, this gear to troll the American Dream, and I never got to show the crowd. So at least we got to see Seth Rollins, Dusty Rhodes American Dream polka dotted gear. I could not believe it when he came out wearing that shit. I am just pleasantly surprised with how good this pay-per-view is. That's why I can't stop grinning. WWE doesn't make me smile very often. They do not put smiles on this face more often than not, that's for sure. But thank you for that, Stone Cold, and I echo your statement for sure. Deshaun, good to see you, my friend. Appreciate the $5 from you. I haven't been this uncomfortable watching a Hell in a Cell match since Jeff and Randy Orton in 2018. For those who haven't seen that match, it's wild. All I remember about that match, that's the screwdriver in the earlobe thing, right? Yeesh, that makes me... I couldn't even look at it. I had to, turn away. That really did make you worried for Jeff Hardy, that Randy Orton was just going to rip that sumbitch's ear off. So wrestling likes to take the ears away from its workers, doesn't it? But appreciate that. Deshaun, good to see you. George Morris, boy, you're late in there with that $5. What's going on, man? Greg, how are you doing? How is Bub? And the other cat, Hell in a Cell, 0 out of 10. How much pain was Cody in? Serious is his injury now. His injury, like I said, I'm of the belief that it probably couldn't get any worse than it was, which is why he was allowed to compete. I cannot give this pay-per-view a 0 out of 10, George. Unfortunately, I do not agree with you. I'm going to have to give this thing a solid 8 for real tonight. WWE, solid effort. Really, really, really good. So I'm going to give it a decent grade. And Bub and the other one, both doing fantastic. Thank you, as always, my friend. Isaac, thanks for the 5. Sup, Greg? Went to Hell in the Cell live. It was awesome, especially with Cody, especially Cody versus Seth. Hope he gets better. That looked like quite the atmosphere, man. I'm glad you were able to be there for that. I've always wanted to attend a show at Allstate, because there's been a lot of, WrestleManias there and a lot of big moments in that building, and it's just a crazy atmosphere. And one day, I'd like to attend a wrestling event there. Faux show. Oh gosh, I'm losing people. I'm going to be getting to these results, guys, but it's only a 7-match card. We'll blow through the results pretty quick, so we're going to kind of chat here, and I'm going to knock out these supers. And we will be getting into the results match by match here in just a second. Rude Killer, 17. Appreciate the 5 from you. Cody is 1 tough SOB. Kevin Owens and Moss also did great tonight. I missed the opener, but I'll give the show a C+ with a great main event. C+ is fair. C+ is fair. Kevin Owens, I did like, actually, the match with Ezekiel. I'm glad he won and went over clean. I was happy with the outcome of all the matches tonight. That's, pretty much. And maybe not the Ali one. I did predict Ali. Those of you who were with us yesterday for the predictions video, I was flip-flopping a bit on Ali and Theory. I'm like, well, it's in his hometown, and they should give it to him. They should give him the belt. They can always just take it right back off of him and give it back to Theory. We know WWE likes to do that. But yet again, we see another guy fall, or gal, in some cases, fall in their hometown, and that's kind of what WWE does. So, that one was kind of a negative. I don't think it would have hurt Theory at all to put the belt on Ali, especially if you want to just give it back to Theory or something. Give Ali some sort of a small little run. Let him try something. I don't know, but no can do for WWE. Continue to do nothing with him. A lot of B's, a lot of B's. So I guess I'm with you. I gave it an 8 out of 10, and that's pretty much translates into a B. I don't agree with the D at all. C+ I can live with, sure. So anywhere in that B or C range, I'll pretty much concur. Anything lower than that, no. This was a way better pay-per-view than that. Population 420, good to see you back, my friend, and thanks for being here. Summer of Injuries, Punk and Cody, 8 out of 10, solid B. It is the summer of injuries. Yeah, you're with me on the grade there, too. Good to see you back, man. Mikey Morrison, appreciate 5 from you. Hey, Greg, big fan since I was 13. Always loved your takes and stories as a longtime fan. Also, today's my birthday, turned 22. Wow. We got a 9-year watcher here in Mikey. Happy birthday, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. That's a long time. I mean, you went from being a kid to a man, all in the span of this channel's life. That's pretty cool. So I can I can appreciate that. Thanks so much, dude, for being here. And happy birthday to you. And you got gifted a pretty good wrestling birthday present tonight, I would say. Zane G, thank you very much for that 20 spot, dude. Rhodes returns at WrestleMania. Awesome 2-part match with Rollins. And then the third and hopeful final match with Rollins. A pretty crucial time for Rhodes to be injured and to be written off TV. Wouldn't you think? Yes. And I actually said today on Twitter that I kind of think that maybe WrestleMania next year is like our best case scenario for the earliest possible Cody return, which means he could return a second time at WrestleMania and do the whole thing again if they do a mystery opponent or something like that, and he could come back. I'm going to be at WrestleMania next year in LA, so that'll be pretty fun to witness live. But I think based on recovery time for something like that, having the surgery, recovering, and then being recovered enough to work out, do bench presses, shit like that. It's a long process. You're probably looking at 9 months minimum for something like that, I would think. So that puts the timetable around WrestleMania, and that's if there's no complications and everything goes exactly as planned. I think Royal Rumble is way too soon. So I think next year at WrestleMania should be around the next time to expect Cody, unless we hear some drastically different information after his surgery. So, it just depends. But yeah, I don't think he's going to have a match with Rollins now, though. The thing is, I thought he would lose tonight. And then because I thought this was going to be the culmination of these two. Tonight was going to be the end of it. But once Cody got hurt, I'm like, oh shit. Well, if Cody's got to leave for a year, maybe they just put over Rollins here. He can even have some help. Maybe whoever Cody's going to feud with when he comes back can help out Rollins tonight. If you want to protect Cody, but that would require, planning by WWE. That's going to be hard to do. So I thought maybe they would change gears, but the match went the way I guess we figured it. And that is that Cody wrapped up his saga with Seth Rollins, and now he's got to go off and get surgery. And where this leaves Seth, I don't know. He's going to be very upset. I don't know what kind of excuses he's going to offer tomorrow on Raw, if he's going to offer any at all. But Rollins is a guy that, along with Kevin Owens and along with Cody and Riddle, I'd love to all get tastes of gold here in the near future. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But yeah, WrestleMania is the day that I'm looking at for Cody, but I'm not sure if he even needs to face Seth Rollins again at this point. He beat him here with one arm. What's left to prove? You know what I mean? But if the match would have gone the other way, then maybe. Appreciate that as always, Zane. Glad you're here. Off Leather Wings, appreciate $2 from you. The opener was a barn burner. That it was. I was pleasantly surprised with the women's match to kick off the show. It was great. All right, let me get ourselves refreshed here. And then we are going to get into the results. Again, I'd appreciate thumbs up button, all that stuff. And make sure you are a subscriber. Now that we got all that out of the way, we can start talking about the actual show. There was no matches on the kickoff tonight. Tonight's kickoff was mostly dominated by the Cody stuff, and of course they were running through all the matches with the Jerry Lawler and Booker T panel. Everybody's acting crazy over there. So typical kickoff for WWE, and the show opens up with a women's title match. Bianca Belair defending her Raw Women's title against Becky Lynch and Asuka in a triple threat. Great match. I mean, they did the finish that you see in every triple threat match, which does get old, don't get me wrong, but I thought everything was just flowed so well in this match. It was fun. They tore it up, and they showed the superiority of their women's division, as it compares to AEW still, even though AEW's gotten so much better, and I've been really happy with the progress their women's division has made, it still has its own issues with the lack of depth and the lack of TV time for its own champion. Here in WWE, to see Bianca and Becky and Asuka in there just working such a beautiful, crisp, great match that was given time and the fans were into. Right off the bat, the Chicago crowd was letting everybody know that they were here to rock and roll, and I appreciated that. So I thought all three did great. We did see that typical finish where you get the manhandle slam to Asuka. Bianca grabs Becky, tosses her right out of the ring, jumps on Asuka for the 3 count and takes advantage and wins and retains the Raw Women's Championship as expected. Didn't think Bianca Belair was going to drop the title here, considering the original plan for her was likely changed after Naomi and Sasha walked out, so they went with this triple threat. Bianca just won the belt. She's not dropping it here, of all places. I think that needs to be saved for a SummerSlam or a WrestleMania type of thing, whenever she does finally drop the belt and who she drops it to. But excellent opener there, and they were really off to a good start in the show. Let me wash down some more of my COVID with my Arrowhead. I wouldn't say Cody should have lost. I thought he would, since we knew he was going to be taking time off. But after a performance like that, who fucking wins and loses a match is not really that big of a deal to me. And after a performance like that, I'm glad that he was rewarded with a win, to be honest with you, because that had to be just miserable to go through. But he did it. Next matchup was our handicap match. Bobby Lashley wearing my favorite gear. I love that silver and white and black deal he's got going on against Omos and MVP. Predicted this match wrong, since Lashley has pretty much gotten the best of Omos in every other outing they've had, right? I kind of thought he'd have to drop one here since it's kind of 2-on-1, but Lashley looked better than ever. The Chicago crowd loves them some Bobby Lashley. Imagine if Bob got that reaction in every city, like he should get. I love to see Chicago showing love to Bobby Lashley because he's one of my favorites. Now, they kind of tied in something with Cedric Alexander here. He approached MVP and Omos backstage, wants to talk strategy with them, but they're like, get the fuck out of here. You're not even our friend. So I don't know where that's going. So then we get to the match, and Cedric winds up interfering in the match, and he gets tossed out, and everything's going on. So MVP and Omos do have the advantage on Lashley several times. They've got him down. MVP, of course, takes advantage at the most opportune times. And what's up with the diss track? Was that debuted tonight, or did they show that last week on Raw? Because I didn't really watch Raw last week except for the Cody promo. But the diss track on Bobby Lashley was kind of good, wasn't it? Or am I making that up? I actually think it was pretty good. So that was funny. But so I guess when you count the diss track and all that, I'm like, surely Lashley's going to have to beat these fuckers. And he did. Wound up spearing Omos. I think he powders out of the ring and he grabs MVP. He's got him in the hurt lock. Crowd's going nuts. He submits. Bobby Lashley gets the win, and the crowd loves it. And after the match, Lashley's on the outside of the ring, and I think he grabs one of the fans' replica belts and like poses with it, kind of signaling that, you know, he wants a shot at the title. So he might be one of the guys next in line for Roman, since Drew has already made it known that he wants a shot at Clash at the Castle. Maybe they're tying Lashley back into this somehow. Excuse me. So I don't want him to be fed to Roman, but maybe they're trying to get him in the mix, or they might just be setting up stuff for Money in the Bank. If everybody wants to be champion, then I'm sure starting tomorrow on Raw, how much you want to bet that tomorrow night on Raw, we're going to get one of those lovely promos where somebody's in the ring and they want to be in the, I declare for the Money in the Bank, and then music hits and they come out and then they declare, and then there's qualifying, there might be qualifying matches, but I think there's going to be some sort of, yeah, that's usually what they do, right? Qualifying matches. So they're probably not even going to have fun with the big multi-man promo, but they'll probably start doing the qualifiers. So right away tomorrow, you're going to start seeing them setting the table for that. So maybe Lashley's belt motion was just a way to get him in the Money in the Bank match, because I'm sure he's going to qualify now. So, you know, you might put, who'd you put in this thing? I would, now that Cody's not in it, probably Seth, Lashley, Owens, Riddle. Those four for sure. How many people are usually in one of these matches? 8. So you round out the other 4. Let me know who you think will be in that. So Lashley gets the win there. I predicted that match wrong. Next up, we had Kevin Owens against Ezekiel. This match was surprisingly good as well. Nothing special, but they got a good amount of time here. I don't think Elias ever worked matches this long, and Ezekiel got a little bloody there early on, bloody mouth or something, but fought hard against Kevin Owens, but in the end, the WrestleMania main eventer did come out with the victory here. You would think that. Kevin Owens has got a lot of years on Ezekiel. Ezekiel is a 2-month rookie. He's only been wrestling for 2 months. He's just a baby. Regardless of what his brother did, Elias can only teach him so much. So he has not been a professional for very long. Owens, meanwhile, main evented WrestleMania against Stone Cold Steve Austin this year. The better man won here. Ezekiel ate a stunner, and Owens got the win. As long as Ezekiel, you know, just stays on that right path, he'll continue to gain experience, and he will learn from these losses. And eventually, you know, he will not only become as good as his brother Elias, he'll probably surpass him. So best of luck to the young fella Ezekiel as he continues his rookie career. After that, big 6-person intergender match, which was a lot of fun. Since these 3 don't have a name, Balor, AJ, and Morgan, let's call them Balorganage. It's French, Balorganage. Maybe that's another language, I'm not sure. But Balorganage takes on Judgment Day in a 6-person intergender match. Our first look at short-haired Edge in the ring. What did you guys think? Not as weird as I thought it would be. I was really worried about how it would look, but I thought he looked pretty good. He looked less old, which is good. I think Edge is like 48, so he's got a couple of years on me, but he looked good with that hair. It got a little wild as the match went on, but short-haired Edge was a little bit easier to adjust to than I thought it was going to be. Still a really good match here. Really fun six-person affair with all participants here. Even Liv and Rio were a lot of fun. Phenomenal forearm to Edge early on. He just eats it perfectly. Damian Priest makes the save there. And then later on, we see Damian Priest eat a phenomenal forearm. And as AJ delivers it, you can see blood all over AJ's face. So I didn't catch where he got busted open, but he was busted open badly to where he was pretty much absent for the rest of the match, and the refs were checking on him. So I don't know if there's any update on AJ, but or where he even got cut, because I was making notes, doing other things. I didn't really see where that happened to him. But Finn Balor gets Edge down. He's about to hit him with the coup de grace, and Rhea stands in front, very Andre at WrestleMania 4 style, protecting DiBiase. And Balor kind of has a decision to make there, and he hesitates. He winds up getting down. He turns around, eats a spear from Edge, and the Judgment Day gets the win. So I even forget who I predicted yesterday, but I think I predicted the baby faces to win that, so I might have gotten that wrong as well. And Judgment Day continues to roll. A lot of people were expecting them to perhaps add a member here. I thought maybe we could get a Balor turn or something like that, but we saw no new member, but a solid victory for Judgment Day. Hey, bring back Elias and have him and Ezekiel win the tag team titles. I think that would be good. Edge versus Demon Balor at SummerSlam. That would be all right. I'd be cool with that. I think it'll be fun. Before we get into the next match, let me knock out these supers that came through while I was talking. Victor Colon, appreciate the 5. Triple H got an injury just like Cody. Yeah, I just mentioned that a little while ago. Triple H got hurt in October and was able to wrestle at WrestleMania. Hopefully Cody has the same luck. Was he now? Yeah, I guess. Was that the Batista match? Yeah, I guess you're right. A torn pec. I always thought was way longer than that. That October match would have been in Saudi Arabia, and then Triple H really did turn around and work WrestleMania. Maybe against Batista. Do I have that right? That's crazy. I guess you're right there. I was thinking we're talking 9 months minimum to see him in the ring again. But if Triple H did that, maybe we can get Cody back by the end of the year. That would be great. So either way, I'm hoping for the very best. The quicker, the better to get Cody back. Hopefully his recovery time is not a year. Maybe it is less than that. Anything less than a year, is going to be good in my book. So, yeah, good point, Victor. Didn't even think about that. JJ Legg, appreciate the $5 from you. Hey, Greg, I'm late, so sorry if this has been said, but after tonight, give Cody the Rumble. He earned that tonight at the very least. That's true. And, hey, if we're talking timetable here and it's a little bit less than what I was thinking, and we're more in the 6-7 month range, Royal Rumble would be a perfect time for him to come back and win it. But that could run the risk of being very predictable because of where the timetable lands, and if people are expecting him back, he could show up at the Rumble and win it, but he certainly would have earned that, and then he'd go on to WrestleMania to perhaps maybe finish what WWE was trying to start with him to begin with. And so now, at least with WWE, they have some time to plan. They have some time to think about scenarios, what they want to do when Cody comes back, instead of just saying, let's wait till he's healthy and then we'll just worry about it then when he's coming back. When he gets to TV that day, then we'll start writing shit for him. Let's have some stuff ready before then. So when he comes back, where you want to take him, where you're going to go, and try to make the best and capitalize on this, on this career-making night that he perhaps had tonight, That's the way I feel about it. Yeah, winning the Rumble is definitely realistic. After the 6-person match, excuse me, I'm still trying to cough out this COVID. It's almost gone. We had, that's funny, I've got Balor versus Madcap in my notes instead of Baron versus Madcap. So Happy Corbin versus Madcap Moss is up next. We saw Madcap return in legendary fashion on SmackDown, busting through the ambulance doors. That was pretty funny and putting a hurting on Happy Corbin. This match was much of the same. It was no holds barred, so they were able to do a lot of things with weapons and outside the ring. At one point, they were brawling over by the timekeeper's table, and there was a chair involved, and I think they both had their hands on the chair at one point, and there was a woman in the front row with a baby, like holding a baby. As many wrestling shows as I've been to, I don't think I've ever seen a fucking baby just in the crowd. I don't think. Like, get a babysitter, unless she's the wife of one of the wrestlers or something, and that's one of the boys' kids or something. I don't know, but excuse me. I was really surprised to see how close that baby was to these guys swinging chairs at each other, you know, but they were able to use a lot of weapons, and it was pretty brutal. And Madcap has been displaying a very, very vicious type of personality and streak, which I like because he's a badass, great look. You know, very little you need to do to this guy to make him believable and legit looking. He's just out there in black shorts and boots, and he's a fucking killer. And he was working over Corbin pretty good. And they do the spot that apparently they did on TV. I just didn't know that. I didn't see that segment. But he's got Corbin's neck in the Pillman. You know, he puts his neck in the chair and got him down on the mat and picks up the steel steps and just smashes the chair. So he Pillmanizes Corbin's neck with the steps, which was super crazy. So I did not even know that Corbin had did that to him. That's what knocked out Madcap. So he was able to do the same thing to Corbin, pins him for the win, and Madcap Moss moves on. It would be nice if they would drop the Madcap name. If he's going to be such a badass now, just go back to being Riddick Moss or Moss. Change him to something. I don't know if Madcap really works anymore, but right now they're keeping Madcap. Chris Ludecki, appreciate the $5 from you. I was hoping the Pseudo Bullet Club would beat Judgment Day. I know Judgment Day is the long-term stable, but I think both groups could be booked long-term. Right. It seems like they've got more plans for Judgment Day. Liv, Balor, and AJ seem to be more a temporary thing. But yeah, I would like them to form some sort of a true alliance instead of them just coming out there individually and Liv doing her stupid entrance and stuff. Like, have them come out together. But since they lost here, the reason they didn't put them together permanently and give them a name is because maybe it's not planned to go beyond this. So this might have been the end of their alliance. But if they would have made them semi-permanent, I would have been cool with that. And you look at the card tonight, I mean, WWE still has, there's been talk of like lack of depth and stuff. I mean, that's WWE's own doing. They've got plenty of people that should be every bit as on the same level as Rollins or Cody tonight. When you look at a match where you have, you know, even Damian Priest, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, all these people were on the card tonight, especially with Balor, AJ, and Owens. All three of those should be, I mean, are former world champions, but should be in the mix. You know, and if WWE would have taken care of them the way they were supposed to, they would easily be able to fall back on plenty of other people without having to scramble. But even with, you know, the lack of perceived depth in WWE, they still have a lot of fucking depth and a lot of good talent there. And even with some guys coming up like the Theories and the Riddles and other, you know, pieces of talent like that you can clearly see WWE's really high on. It won't be long before we see the Breaker of Bronze showing up and just breaking every brawn he can find. So it'll happen. You watch. After that, we have the U.S. title match. Theory defending against Mustafa Ali in his hometown of Chicago, came out wearing Chicago-themed gear and lost. Clean to Theory with his finish right in the middle. I don't think it would have harmed WWE or Theory at all if they would have given Ali the moment here, given him a month-long run with the title, and then just take it back off of him. At least you give us the moment. At least you give him that moment in front of the crowd. The crowd will be super happy, and there would be no... It wouldn't affect Theory's future in any way. Theory, even if you do have plans to make him the next John Cena, he can afford any loss in the world right now. He ain't there yet, so he can fucking lose, and you can still push him to the moon later. It's not that big a deal. He's not booked like a Roman or a Braun Strowman. He's booked like a chicken shit doofus fucking heel. So he can lose. It's not a big deal. And he can still be, your next big thing down the road if you want him to be. But no, we can't have that. Can't put a championship belt on an excellent wrestler. Who does that, right? So Ali goes down. Big surprise. Theory takes the selfie. And that's that. And that leaves us with our main event. Cody and Seth Rollins. I don't know if Cody's injury would accelerate Breaker's ascent to the main roster because, like I just talked about, if WWE feels they have any depth issues, they've done that shit to themselves. They got plenty of talent there. It's that they haven't done shit with them or haven't made them, haven't gotten them to the level that they probably should be or should stay at. All these guys I think should be like Randy Orton's level or Seth Rollins' level, but they're not. So they've got plenty of people there that they can turn to. There's plenty of reliable people that have worked on the big stage and have been former world champions and would gladly accept the responsibility. But WWE just has their own way of doing things. Theory being the next John Cena, that's never happening. Well, people said the same thing about John Cena. John Cena had no talent, remember? WWE brought him in, and he was great as Thuganomics, but once he got rolling as the babyface, nobody thought he would ever be as good as The Rock or anything, and he wasn't, but he still made it to pretty legendary status, and he's a household name too, and he does movies too. So Cena made it, and nobody thought he could either. Yeah, I don't think anybody quite knows how Cody was able to wrestle tonight. I don't. Probably hurt. Probably hurt bad. Making sure I didn't miss anything. All right, we are good. Caught up on the supers. So we talked a lot about the main event as we opened the show here, and how gnarly the injury to Cody Rhodes was. It was reported during the day that he had suffered the torn pec and completely off the bone. They love to say that, completely off the bone, completely off the bone. Now, if you would have put Cody in a crock pot for 8 hours, it would have fallen off the bone, big difference. So Cody is working hurt. We knew that. I was suspicious and worried all night long, just the quality of the match. Number one, I was worried about Cody, didn't want to hurt himself anymore, and knew probably the agony that he was going to be experiencing in this match. But it was also going to be probably a really shitty match because he's one-armed, and it's a Hell in a Cell match of all things. So now you got to perform in one of the most brutal matches. Luckily, it's a little more tame these days since it's inside of a Mattel toy, but it's still a cell match, and it's still way more difficult and way more violent than your typical match, and he's got to go in there with this type of injury. He makes his entrance. I should say Seth makes his entrance first, donned all in polka dots, loved Seth Rollins' gear. It was great. Cody comes out, and you can see when he's making his entrance, he's got the bruise kind of showing through his robe a little bit. He gets in the ring, and when he slowly takes that jacket off and that camera pans in to that sea of purple across his chest, and it's swollen, like really stuck out. And you can just see the severity of that and how bad that injury is. And you're like, how the hell is he going to do it? Like I said, I'm sure he got some numbing. I'm sure they shot him up with something to try to get him through that, but it still seemed like it was going to be really hard for him to work. But he did. The match gets going. He's mostly just kind of doing the one-handed punches and being very protective on, that one side. I believe it was his right side. He had to do most of the work with his left arm and his left side of his body. But as the match went on, he felt a little bit more comfortable, doing stuff, and he started taking bumps. And he was, even though he was protecting himself, he didn't look as, I guess, limited as I was expecting him to be. I thought he would barely be able to move, and here he is, really putting on some offense here. Now, Seth Rollins deserves a ton of credit, too. When you're working with somebody who's limited like that, number one, you not only have to protect them, but you have to make their shit look as good as possible because it's not going to look as good as it normally does. So it's almost like working with a rookie or somebody who just lacks experience or something. You got to do, a lot of work in there, and that's the type of match I thought we were going to see. But Cody really held up his end of the bargain, man. He did not let Seth do all the work. Seth deserves credit for all, making Cody look as good as he did, but Cody worked too. Cody worked really, really hard, and the bumps he was doing, the offense he was laying into Seth was pretty incredible considering, that one half of his body essentially did not work. Excuse me. COVID. Eventually, Cody retrieves a bull rope. The old Rhodes, the old legendary Rhodes prop there, gets it from underneath the ring, brings it into the ring, ties one of his arms to it, and gives it to Seth, and demands that Seth attach himself to it as well so it can be fair. And the way Cody is screaming at Seth with such intensity, you could tell that Cody's mind was just in a different place. Seth, for some reason, agrees to do this. He puts on the bull rope, and they start brawling a little bit, and eventually they detach themselves and continue brawling. Now, Cody is somehow able to hit a crossroads and a pedigree with this one arm onto Seth Rollins that he's able to kick out of both. They do a little chase around the ring. Seth gets in the ring. Cody goes into a slide in the bottom rope and gets hit with the stomp. So you thought that could be it right there as well, but Cody kicks out. And that's where you could kind of tell that they were, Cody was going to have this like never say die type of attitude throughout this match, that he was not going to go down. And if he did, he was going to go down swinging. So he was already just gutting it out by that point. We still had a long way to go. Loved the fact that Seth was able to nail Cody with a crossroads, and Cody kind of rolled through it. So he got hit with his own move, rolled through, and was able to hit Seth with a crossroads right after that. So that whole sequence there of taking a crossroads, rolling through it, and delivering a crossroads must have torn his arm to shit and must have hurt so bad, for him to gut out a move like that. Some of these sequences were just blowing my mind because of how bad it must have hurt. If you try to do something with a broken rib or anything like that, it's just fucking misery. So Cody doing all that was blowing my mind at this point. He winds up getting the sledgehammer out. I think Seth gets the sledgehammer. There was a lot of sledgehammer talk in the promo last Monday. And they both go for the sledgehammer, I think, at one point. I don't know if either guy uses it on the other yet, but at one point it's just laying in the ring. They both dive for it. Cody gets it first, but drops the sledgehammer, allowing and winds up hitting two crossroads onto Seth Rollins. And you think that's going to be it after he hits the third one, but he stops, gets the sledgehammer instead, and nails Seth in the face with a sledgehammer and uses that as the finish to pin him for the win. With an amazing reception from the crowd. He looked spent. He looked like he had the fight of his life, but it turned out to be a fantastic match. One of the better Hell in the Cell matches in recent memory, because lately these things have really sucked just because of how obnoxious they are now with the red paint and how big they are and how they don't even resemble at all what it was when it started 25 years ago. Maybe Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins injected a little bit more legitimacy back into the Hell in the Cell matches, because this was a performance that I just don't expect to see in modern times, and for the fans to appreciate something like this to this degree is not something you see much, today. So, man, it was even in the worst of times, Cody was able to make the best out of that situation. WWE was too, for him to actually. I'm sure he was insisting on wrestling the match, and then it was just up to the doctors to decide whether or not they're going to allow him to do that. And when they did, it was up to him to go out there and perform, and he did. Because if he went out there and he couldn't even move and he gave it his best shot, but it just sucked, I don't know. It would have, maybe Vince would have been upset. You should have just let us replace you. But he went out there and had, I think, almost as good of a match, or as good of a match as he would have if he was healthy. I mean, would you agree? Granted, there was a lot of drama surrounding it because of the injury. We knew what he was going through. But I can't imagine the match going any better than that if both guys were healthy. It says a lot about the caliber of professional that we're dealing with both guys, but especially Cody. It's just, that's incredible. So I will stop sucking his dick now, but I just cannot believe, that he was able to perform not only in this match, but perform to that degree. Just incredible. So it's a shame we're going to lose Cody for a while, but best of luck to him. My God, such good stuff. Zane G, appreciate the $10, man. Maybe it's just me and no one really cares, but every time I hear Rhodes' name announced, whether it's his entrance or after the match, it sounds like I'm hearing Justin Roberts. Maybe. I don't even know who WWE's ring announcers are. I know it's Samantha Irvin. Who's the dude? Not Hamilton. Who's the dude? I don't even know who the ring announcer is. Yeah, I kind of hear that too sometimes. Certain they have similar voices, but I don't even know who the dude is. I hardly pay attention to the announcers these days. Dusty would be proud of Cody, Greg. Dusty would be proud of Cody, Greg. He would. He absolutely would. You think about the moment he had against Nick Aldis when he won the title, and that was very special to him. The moment he likely would have if he wins the WWE title, and what that moment can mean to him. And, to his dad. But in terms of just gutting it out and just being gritty and just being, a dirty and bloody and gritty wrestler, he made Dusty proud. Because that was, what Dusty was. That's how Dusty started out. He was very, very hardcore, and Cody, has the perception a little bit, even though fans do like him, he walks that line of being Charlotte, because he's not the same as his father. You know, he's privileged. He was able to walk right into the business because of who his dad is. He did not have to, you know, fight from the bottom to get to where he is like his dad did. So a performance like this, you know, legitimizes that Rhodes name, you know, and said that my son just didn't take advantage of his name, you know, to get to his success. He did most of this shit on his own and paved his own way, carved his own path. They both did. Cody and Dustin both did. You know, they relied on the Rhodes names to a degree, but largely they made their own careers for themselves, you know, and they both deserve a lot of credit for that, being the son of an icon like that, and to still, you know, have, you know, Hall of Fame memorable careers of their own, you know, shows that that Rhodes family knows how to wrestle and do that wrestling thing. They know how to do it pretty well. And if Cody and Dustin, their kids, ever have aspirations of getting in the ring, then they'll probably do quite well too. So crazy. Crazy. Give Shanky a title. Never see too much Shanky love in the chat over here. It's okay to mark out to Cody, Greg. I'm just appreciative. You know, I've been a wrestling fan for 4 decades. So when I see somebody do that, I'm like, you know what? Thanks, man. Because the wrestling world's full of such bullshit negativity, you know, on Twitter and all that stuff. And everybody just, you know, I can't imagine being a wrestling fan and hating somebody that provided that type of entertainment, you know. And with all the negativity and stuff, you know, I'm still like a wrestling fan. I still appreciate seeing performances like that. And I'm just proud of Cody. You know, that was a gutsy performance, man. Super gutsy. Probably hurt like a motherfucker too. I mean, he was just red. It looked like it was getting worse as the match went on. Did you notice that? So he's probably not feeling good right now, and I'm sure he's heading right down to wherever. I don't know if they do the pecs in Birmingham as well, like where they do all the other orthopedic stuff or not, but wherever he's going, get healed up and get rehabbed and get back as quick as possible. Rarely even. I am liking Orange is the New Black. I think I'm 5 episodes into season 5. I just watched the talent show where the dude was a stripper and all that stuff. I'm starting to wonder if the whole goddamn season is just the riot. Don't tell me. I guess I'm going to find out. But it's getting a little silly, but I'm still liking it. It's a little not realistic at this point to me because none of this shit, regardless of what kind of corrupt owners you have in the jail, none of this shit would be allowed to go on for as long as it has without cops just storming that place and shutting it all down. So it's a little silly, but it's entertaining, and I'm liking it a lot. So going to continue on with it tonight. I'll probably bust out another episode or 2 tonight. Also finished up Jeff Jarrett on Broken Skull Sessions last night as well, and basically only had like 15 minutes of that to complete. And they basically just talked about his TNA run and departure and alcohol abuse and things like that. But they didn't. They did gloss over a few things in TNA that I thought they could have gone into detail on. But you know, it was still a really good watch. Man, I'm gonna have to sign off here soon so this coughing does not drive you guys crazy. Where are we at? There we go. All right. New season of Cobra Kai is coming up in a couple of months. Funny movie is free right now on YouTube for you premium subscribers. Just One of the Guys, 80s classic, 1985. Johnny Lawrence plays like a less badass version of himself in that movie. He's still a bully named Greg, and he picks on like a female version of Ralph Macchio, a girl who dresses up as a boy to get into school, and she looks like the Karate Kid. They even say so in the movie. So if you've never seen Just One of the Guys, check it out. It's on YouTube for free right now, and it's a classic from my childhood. The brother is hilarious. He's my favorite. And watch the intro. I just naturally skip the intro. Maybe I'll watch the intro tonight just for you. Here's the plan for tomorrow. I don't know if I'm going to do a Raw review. I figured I would do a Raw review tomorrow for sure if we saw the return of The Fiend or something like that. It's possible that Cody doesn't go right to surgery. He has a promo on Raw or something. But if I were WWE, I'd send him off to get that shit taken care of right away. But am going to play it by ear. If Raw is looking good, if they've got good shit advertised, I will definitely be up here for a review, but I don't know how much good shit we're really going to see tomorrow. So I'm going to kind of play that one by ear for tomorrow. So tomorrow afternoon, if WWE starts advertising some decent shit, I'll plan to be up here. So I think tomorrow is just going to be like a 50-50 type of thing. Mike Rome is on AEW. That's the announcer there, right? Or is Mike Rome in WWE? I saw that movie many times, but for one scene. Yeah, I think I know which scene you're talking about. Yeah, Sonic, exactly. I was going to mention not only the match with Aldis and for the NWA title, but the match he had with Dustin as well. That same type of thing, that same type of performance. The match he had with Andrade, burning his back to shit. The match he just had with Sammy Guevara, one of the best ladder matches I've seen in recent memory. And now this, you know, I mean, sometimes we don't give Cody the in-ring credit that he deserves. He has some phenomenal performances, man, over the last couple of years. He really has. So he's top of his game right now. That's why it's even more of a shame that he's got to go down with an injury. Yeah, Ken, you're right about the Cody Charlotte stuff. What sets Cody apart from her is that he did leave WWE and he did go and do other stuff, make a name for himself on his own, prove himself in other territories, worked at Japan and, you know, worked Ring of Honor and Global Force and AEW and has gone and done a lot of stuff where Charlotte has pretty much stayed put in the WWE system. But you know, I kind of still worry that they're going to draw similar comparisons, especially if WWE, if Cody didn't get injured here and they just smash him over, wins Money in the Bank now, and then goes on to win the championship. I think eventually, because it's just fans' nature to do this, they'll start turning on him a bit. So the one silver lining in this really, really ugly injury cloud is that, you know, this is going to keep the fans on Cody's side. I don't think any fans are going to turn on him after a performance like that. You'd have to be quite a big shithead if you were going to do that to him after, you know, what he put himself through. So I think this will, you know, keep Cody safe with the majority of the, you know, the wrestling audience that, you know, is really, really, really judgmental on a lot of guys. But it still means we have to go several months now without seeing Cody, and that effing sucks. Could spend some time at home at least, you know, be with his family for a bit, but I know he's going to be chomping at the bit to get back. Injuries suck, man. Boy, two colossal injuries in the span of 1 week for both companies. It's just, it's a shame how bad luck can be sometimes. But anyway, I think that's about it for me. I'm going to get out of here. I want to appreciate everybody for hanging out tonight. Thank you for all of the super chats. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the chatter. Tonight's Hell in the Cell was remarkably better than I thought. I thought we were going to come up here to talk about a relatively lackluster show. I knew I wasn't going to shit on it because all the matches were going to be good, but in terms of it being memorable or, you know, anything crazy happening, I did not consider this pay-per-view to be something that I was going to remember for a long, long time. So whenever this happens, it's pleasantly surprising. So props to Cody Rhodes on just a phenomenal performance, and props to the rest of the talent, and shout out to that Chicago crowd. You guys really helped make the pay-per-view a success tonight, I think. So I will talk to you guys possibly tomorrow. If not tomorrow, I'll be up here for sure on Wednesday for our Dynamite watch-along, because we got two big matches set for that night, the Battle Royal and the winner to face Moxley in the main event, with the chance to go to Forbidden Door to face off for the interim AEW championship. So it should be a big Wednesday, and by then we might have some more news on Cody, MJF, maybe some other shit, who knows, and we'll be talking about it there. So you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.